Definition of a tenant. A person who occupies land or property rented from a landlord. One who has the occupation or temporary possession of lands or tenements of another person. A person or group that rents and occupies land, a house, an office, or the like, from another for a period of time. So often we see tenants as transitory. We hear it in these definitions. Temporary, period of time. They indicate that a tenant is merely passing through. These ideas did not come out of nowhere. There are many factors making it hard for tenants to stay in one place.
The only problem for me is the rent goes up every year. So, and Social Security, which I will be getting this fall, won't keep pace. And so what do you do? And this is below market price. Where would I go if I can't afford it anymore?
Safety issues, security issues, maintenance, garbage, cockroach issues in the building.
Since my mom did so in the past 10 years, probably another 5. So about 17 times in my life, I have lived in rentals. And this is the first time I can tell you a good story about a landlord.
So many people face these issues, and the solution I hear from many is to help them buy a house.
Yeah, something like, the American dream, they all push this on you. It's the American dream to own your own home and have a white picket fence and all of this stuff, They push that on people. So if you don't have a home, you feel like a failure.
My grandparents owned a home, raised my mother's family, and died in that home. For most people, this is ideal. However, many others have to make different choices. In my grandparents' case, my uncle could take care of the house, but if someone didn't have that option, they may have to leave. All types of factors can drive someone out of a house, from a worldwide pandemic.
My last house I owned, I ran an Airbnb out of it, and because of COVID and the pandemic, I couldn't afford it anymore without the Airbnb running. So here I am back home, sort of, near Prospect Park.
To the loss of a loved one.
I was married in the 90s, and we were together for 20 years. My wife died. With her, I had 2 homes. And the last home that I had, when she died, I didn't feel like staying there by myself. I wasn't motivated to shovel the snow or cut the grass anymore.
Yeah.
So I let the kids have it, her kids have it, and I put in for public housing, and I've been living here since 2012, October 2012.
These transitions can be highly devastating, especially when your concept of stability is tied to your house. Transitioning from owning a home to renting is seen as a step down. But after talking to renters, it's clear that rental situations do not have to be haphazard and unstable. They can be many things.
I remember still having an apartment in Brooklyn Center, I want to say briefly. And I liked how we had a little cubby hole in our apartment thing. And also I watched Sesame Street, because everybody my age watched Sesame Street. And, they had this city life thing where you could go walk around outside and do stuff and then come back and live in your little apartment. And I was like, that's cool. I would like to live in the city someday.
And when we got into the place, the energy of the place was, it was perfect. It was like bright and airy, and it wasn't dingy like that last one I was telling you about. There was no problems. There was no, like I said, the one where with the domestic violence, where he's like making this accusation and this assumption about me based on a credit number. And then having the damage that wasn't that. There was no problems. It was looking beautiful. We could feel ourselves here. We could see being here for a while. It just finally felt like the hunt was over. and that we found the home and the home found us. And that was and then to be treated with dignity and respect.
Or like I borrowed someone's stand mixer before I bought one to see if I wanted one. You know, so I have this huge like beer delivery trolley. So when some people have moved in the building, they borrowed my trolley, which now has one flat tire. But you know, we do things like that. Or like my neighbors, they're Somali across the hall, this mother and daughter, and their niece used to live there. So they would need a potato, or I would need an onion, you know, we have a tomato. And one day they knocked on my door and said, "We've been borrowing more than you have. We made a camel meat dinner, and camel is kosher and Jewish. It chews the cud and has the cloven hoof. And so we thought we'd bring you a camel meat dinner."
But renting, you know, it has its benefits, you know. For the most part, you're paying the rent and electricity and phone bill, you know, if you have a phone, whatever. That's about it, you know. And especially if you have subsidized housing, then you're even having more money that you can spend on other things, you know, and things like that. And have a life. You can have a life. You can be wealthy, not rich. Wealthy means that you have enough money to buy and support and buy everything that you need, and you're living comfortably. That's wealthy. There's no dollar figure on that wealth. Now rich, you can have a dollar figure on that. If you're making $2 million a year, $3 million a year, but if you're spending $4 or $5 million a year, you're in worse shape than the person who's making $10,000 and living within his means, you know. So I think it's good that people will be allowed to be off the streets and have a roof over their head and be able to live a decent life in a community program with other people that are supportive to them for a reasonable amount of money, you know, so that they have enough money to buy other things that they need, necessities. They don't have to make choices. Let's see, do I pay the rent or do I get my drugs this month or whatever, if that's what they need or whatever. And I think it's a good thing, and I appreciate it, and I hope it continues. I hope it continues, you know, because I don't know what it would be without public housing.
Yeah, no, it sounds like the public housing has really helped you live a wealthy life now.
Right, wealthy, yes.
Yeah.
Not rich, but wealthy, yeah.
So renting is not always a step down. It can be so much more. It can be a dream, the start of a new life, a community of loving neighbors, and a wealthy, wealthy life. But these interviews were about so much more than being a tenant. By sitting down for a few hours with these community members, they took me on so many fantastic journeys. You really like Star Trek?
I do like Star Trek. I thank my parents for that one. Probably, yeah.
So they got you. They at least got you Star Trek.
They got me Star Trek, yeah. Otherwise, if it wasn't on, it was called PBS. Now it's TPT. If it wasn't on public television, or Star Trek, and Wheel of Fortune was also acceptable, but yeah, that's about it.
I don't know where it came from, and I don't know where it eventually ended up, but you know, when you're starting to learn how to ride a bike, you have training wheels, you know, maybe two, and then you have one, and then people see parents running along with you, and for me, crashing into trees. But when you finally got it, this blue bike would appear on your porch or in your yard or your backyard, alley by your garage. It was this big balloon tire bike. It was beat up. It was sort of a, I don't know, maybe sort of a New England blue. And it had almost had a tractor seat, but it was padded, and then kind of flat handlebars that just barely came up and came towards you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hyper-focused on it. It was kind of all I could think about for a good long time.
Yeah. So, like, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, at the time, like, I wasn't, you know, and it's so funny because I literally remember being in school, and we had a kid come into school who who was special needs and had autism, and his special interest was in sync. And they showed us like a video from like 2020 or whatever where it explained what a special interest was and stuff. And I remember being like, huh, that's weird. Cause like, InSync isn't that cool. And neither are like vacuums or washing machines, which is what the other two kids were obsessed with.
Yeah.
And on the video they showed us, and I was like, so anime actually rules, so I probably don't have autism.
Well, my dad encouraged me to go to Woodstock
Oh, wow.
and the Iowa Rock Festival. He
Okay.
was a drummer. He was in many different bands and groups. And I never even thought about it, but he encouraged me to do that. So he took me to Iowa Rock Festival in Iowa, Wisconsin. And he drove me in the car there. Closest he could get, I think, was like 5 miles out because the car's like Woodstock.
Yeah.
Jammed all the way back. But he dropped me off as close as I could, and some girls in a convertible picked me up and took me the rest of the way in.
What were some of the smells you remember?
I remember my family had a booth at Cinco de Mayo every year. It was very different back then growing up. There's a blanket too if you get cold.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And pillows behind you. But yeah, so growing up, we had a booth, and my mom would sell beans and rice and tamales and tacos, deep fried tacos. And so the Cinco de Mayo celebration was the biggest one, but it was really run by the community. And so it was cool to see your neighbor who's selling their jewelry that they make, or your friend's grandma who's, you know, selling the food she makes. And it was a very different type of celebration. So it brings me back to the smells of like roasted corn in the summertime. Or when there's danzantes, there's the smell of like the Palo Santo smell, I guess. And then you could hear the sounds of like Mexican or Spanish music playing, and then the vibrant colors of on all the buildings, and yeah.
Well, yeah, so I remember too, you said Carlton sold his car before he came out here. So did y'all take the bus out here?
Right on about 3 days.
3 days on the bus.
Okay, yeah.
Wee, that was a long 3 days.
Yeah, how was that ride? Do you remember anything?
One of us had to sleep, while the other would keep work.
Yep.
We didn't have no suitcase. We just got a cardboard box and just put all our stuff in and let's go.
I want to share those journeys with you. So please, come and listen to these people's stories. They have so much to tell you.